Okay guys, so you are hitting 10,000 steps every single day, but you are still not losing weight. You are still not getting shredded as you desire. Why is that? Well, there's a couple of things at play here, lads. Number one, when people talk to me about hitting 10,000 steps, usually it's part of an explanation where they're talking about their frustrations. I'm hitting 10,000 steps every single day, but I'm just not losing weight. That number's a nice round target, but that would assume that 10,000 steps is 10,000 steps more than your usual activity level, which would be 0, which isn't the case for anybody, right? Of course, throughout the day, regardless of your weight, goals, fitness regime, etc., everybody's going to be getting some steps in. Everybody's going to be moving around at some rate, and you need to think about that before you start setting yourself targets. And a target for steps is great, but it doesn't take into account any other variables: nutrition, lifestyle, exercise routine, recovery regime, etc. It takes into account nothing. If you follow that ideology that if you hit a certain step count that you are going to achieve your fitness goals regardless of everything else, unfortunately you're on the path to failure. To give you an example, imagine somebody who is working as a postman. Now, I grew up in the UK in the 1990s, a wonderful time. Oasis on the radio, Man United winning everything, softcore porn on Channel 5 every Friday night. If you were there, you know what I'm talking about. And during that time, when I was a child, we had a very friendly postman. I think his name was Steve. Now, Steve must have been walking 20,000 steps every single morning. He was doing the whole estate. He had a bag full of posts. I'm going to be honest, and I'm not being critical of Steve here, he didn't look like underneath his shirt he was shredded, ripped, whatever it is you want to call it. He looked like he was carrying a little bit of extra weight. I don't know what postmen, or should I say post person, are like nowadays. Back then, it was pretty normal to see an overweight postman despite their job literally being to walk around. And of course, that's not Steve's fault. Maybe fitness wasn't his priority, or more than likely, regardless of whether he wanted to be fit or not, was nullifying all of the positive effects of that walking every day after he finished by making bad, or let's say uneducated nutritional choices. He probably wasn't even aware of it. Again, it might not have been important to him, but he was nullifying all of those effects as soon as he started to put food in his mouth. Let's get to the point. What can you do, geezers? Well, number one, you can go onto your phone, your smartwatch, whatever it is that has got a step tracker in it, because we've all got one nowadays, and you can check your current daily average. Is it 100% accurate? Probably not, but it's a guideline. You got to assume that 7,000 steps on that tracker, regardless of whether it's 6,000 steps, regardless of whether it's 8,000 steps, 7,000 steps on that tracker today is going to be similar to 7,000 steps on that tracker tomorrow, and you've got to consider that 0. Because if you're not currently losing weight, and if you're not currently trending in the right direction in terms of your fitness journey, those current 6, 7, 8,000 steps that you're doing are being nullified by other variables. Number two, we are going to have to do a little bit of guesswork here, but as always with guesswork, you're going to round down. So this is going to vary for everyone depending on your height, your weight, your step stride length, etc. But we are just going to assume 5,000 steps is 150 calories burned. It's probably more than that, but we're going to round down. What we are then going to do every single day without fail, we are going to get your current average, going to add 5 to 10,000 additional steps onto that daily. That's 150 to 300 additional calories burned. Now that might still not be enough, but here's a little bonus for you. Stop eating a chocolate bar every day. Let's say a chocolate bar is an average of 200 calories every single day, probably more. A bag of chips, ice cream, whatever it is you're eating that you don't need to eat. If you can get in those extra 5 to 10,000 steps, and yes, that will take time, it will take effort, but guess what? If you want to change your body, you've got to put a little bit of time and a little bit of effort into it. You can get those extra 5 to 10k steps in, plus you can pull back on that chocolate bar, that ice cream, that bag of chips, etc. That is a 500 calorie swing in the right direction immediately. Now, on average, people believe that 3,500 calories is 1 pound of fat burned. So if you can do that daily, you are going to be maybe not burning a pound of fat every week, but you're going to be pulling a pound of fat back. Now, that quick example still doesn't take into account so many other variables, but fitness is a game of calculations. Honestly speaking, if you are just starting out, you're probably only going to be able to focus on one calculation at a time, one small change at a time. Start with a small change, implement that regularly, make that part of your lifestyle, and then when we need to make additional changes in the future, you're already going to be trending in the right direction. This one's been helpful, geezers. As always, if you've got any comments, drop them down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel to help the algorithm, and until the next one, geezers, thank you very much. Bye bye.